MeMonster.
Chapter 156. Members of Essence of the Strait, Desolate Moon, Frost Sanctuary, and other top-ranking guilds have entered the Tower of Wish. The Hero Association is worried that the Tower campaign will become too much of a free-for-all race, but they acknowledge that what happens is out of their control. Pandemonium Arena, Demon Rank fighter Jin Sayuk's waiting room. Jin Sayuk, Yarina's hottest star, sat in her waiting room, staring at the TV with sunken eyes. Entrance tickets will transform into portals on specified dates. This mechanism, which cannot be explained with our understanding of science and magic, shocked researchers all over the world. On TV, heroes walked into the portals that appeared from the entrance tickets. Seeing this, Jin Sayuk's eyes filled with sadness, regret, and rage. That son of a bitch! She gritted her teeth, spitting out her resentment. As far as she was concerned, she should have been inside the Tower of Wish by now. Instead of sitting in this empty waiting room watching TV, she should have been beyond that portal. Jin Sayuk's anger was driving her insane. In truth, Jin Sayuk had obtained a ticket, given to her by a fan, and was leisurely waiting for July 1st. She even bragged about it to Belle and others who couldn't find any. She thought that she would be the one having fun while the others sat at home bored. But yesterday, as she was packing her things and whistling with excitement, she noticed her entrance ticket was gone. She ransacked her room trying to find it, but it was nowhere to be found. After about 6 hours, she suddenly thought of Belle. She hadn't heard from that guy in a while. With trembling hands, she called him. As she expected, he didn't pick up. Clearly, he had run off with her entrance ticket. The eyes of the public are now on the first wave of challengers. "Just wait 2 months, you bastard," Jin Sayuk mumbled, her blood boiling with rage. Tower of Wish, Tutorial Waiting Room. After taking off all equipment and clothes, please put on the tutorial uniform. Got it. Following the directions on the message, I undressed and put on the tutorial uniform, a leather armor that looked shabby but was tightly woven. Done? Confirmed. Now please put all your belongings into the storage. Items from the outside world cannot be taken inside the tower. A black storage box appeared in front of me. I put everything I had inside. Of course, I had my way around it. My smartwatch, Desert Eagle, and Aether were hidden inside Stigma. Done. Please put all your belongings into the storage. Items from the outside world cannot be taken inside the tower. I did. Please put all your belongings into the storage. Items from the outside world cannot be taken inside the tower. It seemed I couldn't avoid the eyes of that existence. With no other choice, I took the items hidden inside Stigma out and put them into the storage box. Will they be given back? Black entrance ticket has been confirmed. You will have the chance to take some of them once the tutorial ends. That's good. The Desert Eagle was one thing, but Aether was a necessity. Player scanning will now commence. A handprint scanner appeared in front of me. I put my hand on it. Scanning in progress, 33%. I felt a strange sensation of magic power running through my body. Ooh. 66%, 99% completed. Player Kim Hajin has been confirmed. Kim Hajin. Variable stats, invariable stats, traits. Master Sharpshooter, Intermediate Rank, Spirit Attribute, Evolving, Grade 4, Proficiency EXP 89%. Random Consolidation System, Low Intermediate Rank, Spirit Attribute, 3-stage consolidation. Dexterity, Low Intermediate Rank, Null Attribute, Evolving, Grade 5, Proficiency EXP 55%. Magic Dysfunction Physique, Medicinal Memory Physique. During the tutorial, your variable stats will decrease by 65%. 5 traits have been detected. All traits are sealed inside the tower. As a player, you may choose one trait to use. Please make your choice. It was finally time for the balance patch. In this tower, traits included both gifts and physiques. Of the 5 traits I had, I could only choose one to bring with me. Arts were not included, as they were considered acquired abilities. However, this wasn't too disadvantageous for me. The same restriction applied to other challengers of the tower, and I even knew of a hidden piece. I'll go with Master Sharpshooter. This hidden piece would let me acquire a second trait. I didn't need to think much about the first trait. Master Sharpshooter was practically my identity at this point. Will you choose the trait Master Sharpshooter? Yes. For the sake of balance, the trait Master Sharpshooter has fallen to grade 7. Understood. I wasn't happy with it, but it was better to treat the system politely. Black entrance ticket has been confirmed. You've been assigned to the highest difficulty level. In exchange, you will receive a bonus skill. Thank you very much. This benefit was practically a cheat code. The number of skills you can acquire from the tower was limited. 1 unique skill, 3 normal skills, 2 special skills, and 1 ultimate skill. Players could only learn 7 skills in total. In this sense, it was easy to see the advantage of having an extra skill. You may choose 1 bonus skill from this catalog. Thank you. Players who perform well could return to the outside world with half of the skills they acquire. However, my goal was grander, to keep all 8 skills. Recently, my stats had stopped rising. I planned to use this tower as a foundation to force myself up. Vitality Recovery. You can instantly recover 30% of lost vitality. 1 charge is restored every 24 hours. Can be used twice a day. Rage Gauge. Rage builds as you strike and destroy. This rage... I scrolled through the list, but nothing caught my attention. Then I found one. Blink. You can teleport to a point within 15 meters of a radius. 1 charge is restored every 8 hours. Can be used 3 times a day. This would be the skill Kim Suho chooses in 2 months when he enters the Tower of Wish with a black ticket. Although it was an excellent skill, it didn't suit me. Pass. After scrolling some more, Random Dice. You obtain 1 dice every 9 hours. Random dice will transform into a raw material or a completed item once rolled. The chance of obtaining a completed item is much lower. You may select a category as you roll the dice. This is it. I'll take this. Random Dice. A bonus skill that utilized my luck and synergized with dexterity. I chose this skill without hesitation. Random Dice has been chosen as a bonus skill. You may now say the words Status Window to open Extra 7 status. The tutorial will begin in 1 minute. You will enter the highest difficulty tutorial. 1 minute later, after a burst of bright light, I was sent to an unknown place. Looking around, I found myself in an open field dyed in the sunset. Dirt, rocks, leaves, and weeds filled the area.
This tutorial will allow you to estimate your basic battle prowess. The first tutorial was simple. Like in most tutorials, you just had to beat up monsters. Damn. But there was just one problem. The monsters I had to beat up were a bit special. How am I supposed to kill them without a weapon? I was up against goblins. That was fine in itself, but the problem was that these goblins came with descriptors. Carrick. Krr. A goblin shaman and a goblin warrior. Like Nunu and Willump, the goblin shaman was sitting on the goblin warrior's shoulder. Ehew. I was confident before coming in, but now that I couldn't use my Desert Eagle, my future was looking bleak. You spotted a goblin warrior and a goblin shaman. Their information has been recorded in the Player Encyclopedia. Player Encyclopedia. As one of the Tower of Wishes support systems, it stored all information discovered or experienced by players. Open Player Encyclopedia. Information was usually key in situations like this. I stopped what I was doing and read up on the two goblins. Monster Encyclopedia. Goblin Warrior. Intermediate rank grade 7. Goblin Shaman. Intermediate rank grade 8. That's it? Well, it's true that the encyclopedia only had cursory information. It was enough to know that they were weaker than the ones I fought in Incheon. For now, let's think. How did Kim Soo-ho get through this situation in the original story? Right. They were slaughtered by the metal attribute magic power of Sword Saint. Being able to bring in only one gift in was too advantageous for Kim Soo-ho. Let's think again. I'm different than Kim Soo-ho. Thankfully, the goblins were talking to themselves and hadn't noticed me yet. In that case, it was probably right to search for this stage's hidden piece first. Narrowing my eyes, I used Stigma's magic power. Warning: the activation of an unnatural power has been detected. This power may not be used in the tutorial. Ignoring this warning may result in grave consequences. Or not. By the looks of it, I would have to search for it directly. I lowered my body and walked silently. Thanks to my mercenary work over the past 3 years, I was used to sneaking around. I walked up to the closest boulder and flipped it over. Thud. There was nothing under it. It looked like it might have something, but I had a feeling I was only being baited. I began to walk again. Crack. Coop. I accidentally stepped on a branch. I anxiously turned around. Kirk. Ghoul. Thankfully, they seemed to be busy arguing about something. Whew. Letting out a sigh of relief, I continued onward. Because of how slow and carefully I was moving, walking half the length of a soccer field took about 2 hours. Then, I found a leaf on the ground. Of course, there were other leaves on the ground, but the one I was looking at was clearly special. It was glowing and practically shouting that it was special. I quickly ran up. As soon as I held it up, a window popped up. Yggdrasil leaf. I found it. I held my breath to prevent an excited yelp from coming out. Yggdrasil's leaf blesses you with calmness and adventurous courage. Hidden peace. You may choose one of the following 3 blessings. Acquire an additional trait. Restore 10% of lost stats. Cradle of Wisdom. It had to be the first option. The second option was for stat monsters like Boss and Kim Soo-ho, and the Cradle of Wisdom was useless. As I created the Tower of Wish in detail, I knew exactly what it was. You can acquire an additional trait. But I was at a loss for what to choose between medicinal memory physique and dexterity. The tower should have all sorts of precious medicine I've never seen before. If medicinal memory physique remembers just one of them, my future should be much easier. Medicinal, no. But there was too much risk in choosing medicinal memory physique. I didn't know how much of a medicine I would have to consume to remember it. Dexterity. I'll go with dexterity. With dexterity, I could just make items without having to buy them. Since I knew another way to acquire an additional trait, though it was a lot more difficult, going with dexterity seemed to be the right choice. Yggdrasil's blessing has unsealed your trait, dexterity. Whew. Now I could finally fight. I turned to Nunu and Willump, or rather, the Goblin Warrior and Shaman. At that moment, I received a system message. You can store the Yggdrasil leaf inside your inventory. I almost forgot. Thank you. Inventory. Inventory. The highest quality extra-dimensional space only available inside the tower. I stored the Yggdrasil leaf inside it and took out the random dice that was also inside. Whew! I held the dice, which had a question mark on each side. An unbelievable nervousness filled my body. If I were to defeat those goblins, I needed this dice to turn into a weapon. Blade. Give me something with a blade, please. I rolled the dice as I prayed in my head. Drrrr. As soon as the dice disappeared, a primitive dagger appeared. Yes! Holding the precious dagger, I thought of my next move. This dagger looked too dull to kill the goblin warrior. However, it should be possible to kill the goblin shaman just as long as I hit its head. Wait a minute. Then, suddenly, I had a different idea. A method to kill both the warrior and the shaman at the same time. Holding the dagger, I began to dig a hole. It had to be deep enough for the 2.5-meter-tall goblin warrior to be stuck. Like a mole, I dug a trap quietly. Warning, you have 2 hours remaining. After digging for dozens of minutes, by the time I was covered in sweat and the goblin shaman and warrior were moving separately, done. I finished digging a huge hole. It was large enough that even the goblin warrior would have no way out. I covered the trap with leaves and branches, then got up with my dagger. Kick! Immediately I caught the attention of the goblins. I threw my dagger at the shaman, promptly piercing its head and killing it. Kick! The shaman staggered for a moment before collapsing. An intermediate-rank goblin shaman was still a shaman. Its defensive power couldn't even compare to a low-rank monster. Ghoul. The shaman was out of the picture, and now it was time to deal with the goblin warrior. The goblin warrior stared blankly at the corpse of the shaman. You're not going to move? Whoa! Then, suddenly the goblin warrior roared and charged forward madly. I simply stood still without moving. The clever goblin shaman would have noticed something was strange, but the goblin warrior was in a fit of rage after losing his friend. Kirik! Soon the goblin warrior stepped on the trap and its 2.5-meter-tall body fell into the hole. Gwoh! As it struggled in the hole, I quickly ran up to the shaman and retrieved my dagger. Then I stabbed down at the goblin warrior stuck in the hole. Die! Die! Just die! After about 2 hours, an alert finally popped up. You have cleared the first stage, Basic Battle Prowess Assessment. You will be moved to your private waiting room. After 12 hours of rest, you will be sent to the second stage, Way of Survival. I'm exhausted. Rest well. Thank you. I told myself to treat the system politely, no matter how difficult things got. This was the ironclad rule of the Tower of Wish, which only I knew about. In truth, it was designed with Kim Suho's righteous personality in mind. After all, who else other than Kim Suho would talk to a system so politely? The private waiting room was a personal space that every player in the Tower of Wish possessed. Player Extra 7's waiting room. Waiting rooms could be modified or decorated however their owner wished. Once the tutorial ended, players could invite others to their waiting room as well. Using points, they could expand the size of the room or purchase furniture. It's so empty. Of course, for now, there was nothing but a single wooden board. In the past, I didn't think the waiting room mattered all that much. But now that I think about it, the waiting room was quite important. As waiting room return could be used once every 4 days, it could be used to escape enemies or death. For now, let's sleep. No matter, I was too tired to think properly. I decided to sleep until I gained another random dice. I lay down on the hard wooden board. Just like that, 7 hours went by. My back. My body felt sore after sleeping on a hard surface. It was a sensation I hadn't felt for a long time due to my high stats. Frowning deeply, I checked my inventory. Random dice, Yggdrasil leaf. I took the dice out and immediately rolled it. As I did, I thought to myself, ore. Give me an ore so I can make a fishing rod and a weapon. Plop! The dice stopped and an ore popped out. Oh! A translucent, red-colored ore. When I laid my eyes on it, I became speechless. This is red crystal. A crystal formed from compressing fire attribute magic power. A crystal specialized for crafting equipment. It was a low intermediate to intermediate rank crystal that would sell for a hefty price in the real world. In this situation, it was even more valuable. Ooh. If I had to choose one thing I did right after being sent to this world, it would be raising my luck to 9.1. I have things to do now. Private waiting rooms don't count as part of the tutorial. Stigma's magic power couldn't be used during the tutorial, so I had to use this opportunity to craft items. Ooh. Even the tower system couldn't have known I would craft items in the waiting room. One of the administrators has detected the activation of an unnatural power. But unfortunately, the administrator's eyes were better than I imagined. One of the administrators. It was most likely the mythical existence with the ability to see everything, the divinity in charge of the third-floor residential area, Heimdall. I'll use just a little bit. I tried to bargain. After all, it was true that the waiting room wasn't the tutorial. Hello? The system didn't reply, but seeing that I wasn't getting any more messages to halt, I began to use little bits of Stigma's magic power to make crafting tools. Then I began to handle the red crystal while walking on eggshells.
Chapter 157. With the red crystal, I began crafting equipment for the next tutorial stage. Using 1/10 of Stigma's magic power, I split the red crystal into 3 equal parts. One sharp piece for a spear, a wide piece for an axe, and the last for a fishing line. The spear, axe, and fishing rod were simple to make. I dismantled a wooden board from the waiting room, trimmed it, and attached the crystal to the tip. The fishing line was trickier. At first, I wasn't sure what to do, but with Stigma's magic power, it became easy. When I infused the red crystal, it turned into a squishy, semi-solid substance. After some tinkering, it became a long, sturdy fishing line. I looked at the spear, axe, and fishing rod I'd made. With my low dexterity proficiency and aether absent, they didn't look great, but they were likely better than most mass-produced goods. At the very least, they were good enough for the tutorial. At that moment, a system window appeared. You have obtained the technique LV1 Crafting. The tower had a technique system as well. Crafting LV1. You can easily craft LV0 items. The Tower of Wish was like an RPG. Performing certain actions awarded players with an unrealistic bonus. The crafting technique should let me craft items instantly, skipping all the intermediate steps. It also included a leveling system like most RPGs. There are 10 minutes remaining until the second tutorial begins. Try accessing the community. While I practiced swinging my axe and spear, the system gave another recommendation. I thought about one of the tower's most important systems, the community. Tower community, public forum, auction house, group creation, messenger, player profile. As expected, the tower community had many functions. The auction house was self-explanatory, and group creation was for forming parties. The player profile was like Facebook, but far superior. Player profile. Players could create 2 profile pages, one with their nickname and one anonymously. Each player had full control over their profiles. They could turn it into a shop, put up items for sale, or use it to buy and sell information. I tried clicking on each function. Player profile can be used after the tutorial. Auction house can be used after the tutorial. Messenger can be used after the tutorial. As I thought, only the public forum was available. Public forum. Am I the first poster? Wow, this is interesting. Someone comment on this thread. I need to know if anyone else is alive. Has anyone cleared the tutorial yet? There were only 3 posts. It seemed everyone was busy trying to clear the tutorial. I created a post as well. Let's share information. The view count went up immediately, and someone commented, "Quitten gut nim? What? Why are you here? Wait, are you the extra 7 I know? How does this guy know me?" I tilted my head and checked the commenter's nickname. Nayan Jajangman. The Nayan part
made me a bit uncomfortable, but it was so familiar that I was more surprised than anything else. He's here too? The second tutorial stage, Way of Survival, will begin at any moment. Please get ready. I tried to comment, but another system alert popped up. I turned off the community and stood up with all the equipment I'd made. I'm ready. You will now be transferred to the second tutorial stage. Yes. A burst of white light erupted. I closed my eyes, feeling the warmth of the light particles enveloping me and a strange sensation as if I were floating. Soon, I felt myself land on a soft surface. I opened my eyes. I'm here. The sound of gentle waves rang out. I stood still and looked ahead. A boundless ocean stretched across the horizon. I was on a sandy beach with a dense forest of palm trees behind me. This was a tiny, uninhabited island. Tutorial goal: survive for 14 days. From the second tutorial, you will be ranked based on your performance and will be rewarded accordingly. The goal of the second tutorial was survival. Stay alive in this vast area for 14 days. However, it was worth risking more danger here. The performance-based reward surpassed the standard of a tutorial. Try thinking or shouting status window. Another system alert appeared. I did as it said. Status window. Nickname, Extra 7. Vitality, 43/100. Magic power, 30/30. Skill count, 1. Skill, bonus skill, random dice. My vitality and magic power, effectively HP and MP, were now numeric. My magic power wasn't 0, likely because I'd lost my magic dysfunction physique. But why did the system want me to see this? Vitality is affected not only by damage, but also hunger and fatigue. When your vitality reaches 0, player Extra 7 will die. Players who die in the tutorial cannot revive. I see. So it was telling me to eat. It must have been worried about me. A kind, polite, come. Thank you. I answered energetically and looked around. Although I was on land, there was nothing to eat on the highest difficulty island. In other words, I had to find food in the ocean. That's why I crafted a fishing rod and an axe, to fish and to craft a boat. My stomach growled. I was getting hungry. Before making a boat to set out onto the ocean, I took out the fishing rod from my inventory. Since coconuts from the palm trees could be my water source, finding food was my first priority. I stared at the fishing rod, then gripped it with both hands. Before coming into the tower, I'd practiced fishing for this exact purpose. Whoop! I swung the fishing rod in a big motion. Whoosh! The fishing line arced through the air. It felt more natural than I expected, partly because I'd practiced, but probably more because dexterity and master sharpshooter helped with fishing. Plop! The hook sank into the ocean. Time passed in silence. I grew hungrier, but the fishing rod didn't move. I didn't use any bait, but since the hook was made from the red crystal, I didn't need any. Sea monsters should be attracted by the scent of magic power. I kept waiting, trusting my luck. After about 30 minutes, the water's surface changed. Ah! The fishing line tensed. Something had bitten. Whatever it was strong. The wooden fishing rod bent. After struggling to reel it in, I picked up my spear. With my low vitality, this was a waste of time. In the end, killing it first or reeling it in first made no difference. Holding my spear, I calmly watched the fish underwater. Then, I threw the spear. Even with my strength stat 65% sealed, it was still above 2 points. The spear struck, the fish stopped moving, and I reeled it in easily. You have obtained the technique LV1 fishing. You have an increased chance of fish biting your hook. You spotted a glossy sea fish. Its information has been recorded in the player encyclopedia. A monster. Monster encyclopedia. Glossy sea fish, low rank grade 7 sea monster. A sea monster that tastes like mackerel.
I retrieved the spear from the fish's back and started a campfire. Starting the fire was easy. I just rubbed some wood with the red crystal axe. Once the fire was up, I strung the glossy sea fish over it. Tss. The fish dripped with delicious oil as it cooked. At the same time, Boss, who cleared the first stage of the hardest difficulty tutorial in the blink of an eye, was sitting on a sandy beach in meditation. Taking deep breaths, she tried to move her shadow to the water. But the shadow didn't stretch far, only swirling around her before disappearing. It was because of the 93% stat restriction. She tried over a dozen times, but failed each time. In the end, she gave up on fishing with magic power. She thought, I'm hungry. I have to eat something. Should I have saved the orange ticket's emergency food supply? She got up and walked around. Soon she found a large boulder and hoped to find crabs underneath. She slowly approached, picked up the rock, and threw it aside. A startled hermit crab was underneath. Boss quickly grabbed it. Now she needed to cook. She opened her inventory. She'd already eaten all the food from her ticket, but she still had the burner and frying pan set. Tuck, tuck. She turned the burner on and put the hermit crab on the frying pan. Pss, 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 pss. Food, food, food. As she mumbled, the sun began to set. 18 hours had passed since the start of the second tutorial. Goong, goong, goong. I was chopping down a tree with my axe. The red crystal axe, being fire attribute, made the tree fall quickly. With just 5 swings, the tree fell. That should be enough. That was the 30th tree. All were used to craft a boat. The highest difficulty island had no food, and from the second tutorial there was a performance-based ranking system. How far I traveled, how many sea monsters I hunted, these all contributed to the ranking. Leaving the island was a must. Inventory. My inventory was filled with useful materials like bones and skins of sea monsters. I took out an item labeled Red Fish's Tough Skin. Craft. I used crafting to make a string. Red Fish's Tough Skin has been used to produce a twine. Trait Dexterity applies to crafting. You crafted a level 1 tough twine. With crafting, I could skip intermediate steps, just like in a real game. Whew. Now done. I picked up my axe and went to the gathered logs. With Dexterity's help, I shaved the log's surfaces. To make a proper sailboat, I needed the logs as smooth as possible. After about an hour of hard work. Ah, how dare you! I hate swinging my axe. Anadiklius Nahu. A Yggdrasil leaf is impressed by your effort. A system alert appeared. Tried checking the Yggdrasil leaf. Ah, hold on a bit. I opened my inventory. Yggdrasil leaf. Blessing of adventure. Your body becomes lighter while you have this item in your inventory. Minor improvement to your physical ability. You can grant small blessings to items. Blessings will get stronger the more they have to do with adventures. Just like the system said, Yggdrasil leaf had a new effect. Nice. The first effect gave a minor improvement, but it applied to my entire physical ability. The second effect seemed good since it said, blessing. Thank you. I closed the inventory and went back to working on the boat. The sound of logs being cut. Chwak, chwak. The sound of logs being tied together with string. After 3 hours of hard work, I was finally done. I stood up and stretched, feeling a bit lightheaded. Next up is coconuts. I began throwing coconuts onto my boat to use as water. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 23. Almost half the boat was filled with coconuts. Try granting the vehicle a small blessing. Oh, right. I almost forgot. This is why it's good to be polite to the system. There was a high chance the Yggdrasil leaf got a new effect because I'd been so polite. I took out the Yggdrasil leaf and waved it over my sailboat. Yggdrasil's blessing envelops the sailboat. The surface of the sailboat becomes coated with magic power. You will now have a smoother adventure. Status window.
I opened the status window to check the sailboat specs. LV1 sturdy sailboat with level 2 Yggdrasil's blessing. LV1 sturdy sailboat. Durability, level 1. Speed, level 1. Safety, level 1. LV2 Yggdrasil's small blessing. Increases all effects of the sturdy sailboat by 1 level. Oh! Levels are important for equipment. Yggdrasil's blessing raises item levels. This isn't a small blessing at all. Thank you very, very much. I won't forget this gratitude. Until I conquer this tower, that is. Now it's time to set sail. I pushed the sailboat into the water, then hopped on with a paddle. A pleasant breeze blew over me. I paddled forward. The sailboat began to move. My goal for the second tutorial was simple. Go as far as possible and kill as many sea monsters as possible. Although things might get a bit dangerous, that would only help my ranking. Huh? But after about 30 minutes of paddling, I spotted another island. That wasn't the problem. There was a silhouette of a person on the beach. Am I seeing this correctly? Narrowing my eyes, I focused on the distant island. Instantly, my vision expanded and the view became clear.
Chapter 158. Who is it? There was someone on the island. He didn't look too unfamiliar. Although I couldn't remember his name, he was likely a high-intermediate rank hero who often appeared on variety shows. Wait. Could it be that all players in the highest difficulty level shared the same sea? It was something I never thought about when writing my setting. Oi! Oi! The man seemed to have discovered my boat as he waved his hand. I sailed forward. Although I had no intention of letting him on board, I was willing to give out some of the food I was overflowing with. Must be a green ticket. The man didn't have anything with him, not even the basic weapon and food supply provided by the tutorial. Here, wah, over here! The man jumped excitedly. I took out a glossy sea fish from my inventory. It was then that a dark shadow was cast underneath the island. I didn't have much time to think about what it was or why it was here. Pwah! Suddenly, the mouth of a giant fish shot up from the water. There were 2 sharp fangs growing on each side of its jaw, which promptly swallowed the island whole. You spotted an island devourer. Monster Encyclopedia. Island devourer. Tutorial-only monster. This monster hates those who stay on one island. However, who it seeks is solely dependent on luck. A system alert popped up. Whoa! I broke out into a cold sweat and stood a bit dazed. However, I didn't have time to sit still. The shadow that swallowed an island whole was now creeping up on me. I quickly began to paddle away, but the shadow was only getting closer. I couldn't do anything against it with a mere paddle. I quickly opened my inventory. Inventory. Random dice, 3. I could keep a maximum of 5 random dice. Since it could become anything depending on my desire, I was saving them up to use in emergency situations. I picked up a dice and thought hard. I please become something that can save me from that thing. Something like an engine that can be attached to my boat. Durr. I rolled the dice with my dearest wish. What? However, the dice mercilessly betrayed my wish and became a strange mango. At first, I didn't even know it was a mango. It was yellowish-orange, but as big as a watermelon. Level 3, big and juicy mango. If it wasn't for the status window, I would have thought it was some exotic fruit. What the hell is this? I checked the item description just in case. Level 3, big and juicy mango. This big and juicy mango is a very precious fruit that is sometimes used as medicine. Level 2, vitality recovery. Level 4, satiability. A level 3 item. As most items in the tutorial were only level 0 to level 2, this mango was certainly a good item. The problem was that it was useless in this situation.
What would filling my belly do when I was about to enter a belly myself? Dirk. Shit. The island devourer's fin grazed my boat. I had a strong hunch that it wanted to eat me. My heart thumped violently, but I was used to it by now. As a mercenary, I had lived through much more dangerous situations. Now I didn't even have time to throw another dice. I racked my brain frantically. Mango. A delicious, juicy mango. A light bulb went off in my head. Hey, eat this instead of me. I held the mango forward and wafted it back and forth. The shadow slowed down, or at least that's what it looked like. This is a precious food you can never taste in the tutorial. As I said before, level 3 items could not be found inside the tutorial. So take it. I threw the mango as far away as I could. Whoosh! With Master Sharpshooter's support, the mango drew a beautiful arc and landed 400 to 500 meters away. Plop! Water splashed on my face. The giant creature underneath my boat changed course and began to swim towards the mango. Whew! The giant shadow was getting farther away. Thud! I fell on my butt. Although I didn't do much, I was out of energy. I most certainly didn't put such a creature in my tutorial. I knew this would happen. But I wasn't too surprised. In the original story, I often had comments saying, "Isn't the highest difficulty tutorial too easy?" My excuse was always, "It's not that the tutorial is easy, Kim Suha's gift is just broken." In any case, I just barely avoided death. The scene of an entire island being swallowed was still lingering in my mind. Mango, mango, mango. I murmured the same word in a daze. Ow, I'm getting seasick. 6 days had passed since then. Today, the waves were fiercer than usual. The past few days have been quite spectacular and dynamic. I almost fell overboard from a sudden storm, and I was almost eaten by an intermediate rank grade 8 sea monster. Both times, I barely managed to survive using my red crystal weapons and random dice's power. Level 2, Sea Tiger's Oil. An oil that drives away sea monsters. Level 1, Low Intermediate Rank or Lower Monster Repellent. Level 1, Shock Absorbent Waterproof Coating. Level 2, Magical Repair Ointment. A mystical ointment that works on items. Restores durability of items under Level 1. These 2 items were especially helpful in my journey. I want to be on land. After staying on a boat for 6 days, I was starting to miss land. Your sailing technique improves to Level 2. You can now cross waters more easily. Your sense of direction on sea improves. No, please just give me a land of some sort. I widened my eyes and peered out into the distance. In the distance, I caught a glimpse of a small island. Nice! With my new destination discovered, I began to paddle towards it. Sploosh! Perhaps because of my improved sailing technique, the boat seemed a bit faster than before. After about 20 minutes of paddling, I could finally see a portion of the island. Eh? When I saw the island, I exclaimed in shock. There was a familiar face on the island. I shot up and shouted, "Boss!" Seoul, Essence of the Straits Team Leader Office. Yu Young-hae was chatting with Yoo Jin-huk. Why are you so curious about this? I'm not curious. I just want to know the truth. Yu Young-hae shared what she knew about the Kwang-o incident with Yoo Jin-huk. However, Yoo Jin-huk still kept some matters secret, which Yu Young-hae was now in the process of investigating. Under the assumption that Kim Hajin really was the survivor of the Kwang-o incident, Yu Young-hae wanted to know why Cheju Chel's assassin didn't kill him and who the assassin was. To be completely honest, I don't know. He's lying again. Yu Young-hae frowned. You're lying. No, I'm serious. You said you saw him being admitted to the orphanage. As she typed, Yu Yunhei suddenly wondered, how would Kim Hajin have looked like as a baby? She found it a bit difficult to imagine his face on a baby's. Yeah, some kid left him there. Kid? Yeah, 5 to 7 years old or 8 at most. Black hair, or actually, maybe it was covered with a hijab or something. Do you have dementia? I'm getting old. Time travel isn't like it used to be. As inaccurate information introduced needless bias and noise, having more information wasn't always better. Anyways, it was a young girl.
Okay, thank you. By the way, have you thought about my offer?
No.
Tss. Yu Yanha suggested Yu Jin Hook to enter her information guild, Falling Blossom. As far as she was concerned, he was lazing around most of the time in his office. Think about it. I'm already being watched by Chae Chu-chel. What would he think if he sees you so close to me? I get it. Good. Then send me some assault rifles. What do you need those for? I decided to form a small militia. You know how to go about it without being discovered, right? Yeah. No. What? Oi, niece, Yu Yanha left the chat and leaned against her chair. She closed her eyes automatically. It really is amazing. If she were to describe this sensation, she would say it was like leaning on an angel's wings or sleeping peacefully in Noah's Ark while the world was crumbling down. As she spent 16 hours a day in her office, her new chair was the best gift she's ever received. Buried in the chair, Yu Yanha thought about many things. Her guild members who were in the Tower of Wish, the high intermediate rank monsters, the dungeons her guild was planning to conquer, a cup ramen, a hamburger. She began to drool. Boss seemed to have gotten skinnier since the last time I saw her. I wanted to give her a big hug out of joy, but we were both too dirty from staying in the wild for several days. It's been a while. Boss smiled leisurely as she said that. However, she didn't look to be in all that great a shape. Boss, did you eat? I did. She nodded affirmatively. But I was a bit suspicious. What's your vitality right now? Vitality? Yes. She looked at the air blankly. She was probably checking her status window. 90. 90? Yes. Boss nodded. Are you sure it's not just 9? Psst, as if I... Her unnatural smirk confirmed it. Her vitality definitely was 9. In fact, it couldn't be anything but 9. Boss's stat restriction had to be incredibly high. Kim Suho received an 80% stat restriction, so Boss's should easily surpass 90%. It was hard at first, but I got used to it. You've been here the whole time? No, I went back and forth to find food. Ah. Thankfully, it seems she wasn't targeted by the island devourer. Then let's eat something first. Okay. I opened my inventory to take out a sea fish, but before that, Boss moved first. Follow me. With a kind smile, she turned around and began to walk into the forest. Boss, where are you going? I thought this might happen, so I kept some emergency food supply. Ah, okay. I followed her for now. Boss walked to the middle of the forest and stopped in front of a giant palm tree engraved with an X mark. She moved the leaves under it and took out the tutorial-only food supply bag. Here. Boss opened the bag proudly. Inside, there were all sorts of seafood. Clams, sea pineapples, crabs, snails, and 2 small fish. They were certainly good enough for a meal. Wow! I was genuinely surprised. Boss's main stat was magic power. This stat displayed exponential power as it grew, but unless it surpassed a certain point, it was more or less useless. In other words, Boss had fisted all these up without any tools, using only her physical abilities. There's a lot. Of course, thanks to this place, I got to relive the old days of training.
Boss stuck her chest out proudly. Since she kept the food inside the tutorial bag instead of her inventory, she had a good survival sense. Like the inventory, the tutorial bag kept food fresh. You must be hungry since you paddled all the way here. Wait. Boss seemed to be worrying about me as she quickly took out a burner and frying pan and began to cook the seafood. Tss. I stared at Boss, who was watching her food cooking on the frying pan. After flipping them a couple times, she turned the burner off and gave the frying pan to me. It's done. You can eat. What about you, Boss? Like I said, my vitality is 90. She was saying she didn't need it. At that moment, I felt something warm rush into my heart. Was this why she was the boss? Was this the duty of a boss? Feeling a surge of emotion that was hard to put into words. Aren't you going to... I took out a fish from my inventory. Eat? It was a large, glossy sea fish. Boss's eyes lost focus as she glanced back and forth between the frying pan and my glossy sea fish. On the frying pan were tiny seafood gathered together. On the other hand, the glossy sea fish was too big to fit in the frying pan. Boss's face turned red. 30 minutes later, we ate all the glossy sea fish in my inventory. Cooperation is an important factor in climbing the tower. While I was sitting on the ground digesting my food, the system messaged me. All right, let's start moving. Moving? Yes, the second tutorial's performance based on points used both an absolute and relative evaluation. In other words, even if you achieved first place overall, you had to surpass a certain threshold to receive the reward. Let's set sail. It's dangerous to stay on the same island. Sail? Yes, there's a monster called the Island Devourer. It attacks you if you stay on the same island. I don't quite understand, but sure. Boss and I went back to the beach where my boat was. But now that I looked at my boat, it seemed too small. We're going to ride that thing? Boss had doubts as well. Hold on. I took out a random dice. Since I had 5, it was fine to use one. I don't know if this will work, though. I thought as I rolled the dice, a boat or materials to build a new one. Tick. The dice got stuck in the sand without rolling. It seemed my wish was too big as the first dice turned into a wooden plank. Oh, what was that dice? Hold on. I rolled another one. Tick. It got stuck in the sand once again, but this time the dice was shaking strangely. Then the dice grew in size. Oh, and it transformed into a boat. Although it was only half as big as my sailboat, it was shaped like an actual boat. What is this mysterious thing? Newbie? Newbie? I couldn't reply to Boss's question. I just felt betrayed. Why did I cut down trees, shave them, tie them together, and repeat tiring tasks? All I had to do was roll the dice a couple times. After tying my old sailboat to the new boat, Boss and I set sail. Voyaging became more fun with someone to talk to. I obtained food by fishing, and Boss focused on training her magic power. My magic power stat just increased by 0.3 points. After about 6 hours of sailing, Boss spoke with a bright face. Wow, it's increasing fast. When do you think you'll be able to hunt sea monsters? Now, what is it at? 2.3. Let's just eat. Okay. While Boss continued to meditate, I began to cook. Today's menu was sea fish sashimi. Although sashimi was low in calories, eating it had a chance of increasing magic power. While I was cutting up the fish, psst, a large waterspout shot up from the ocean. At the same time, the surface of the water split and a house-sized fish shot up.
It had fierce eyes that took up half of its face and a mouth that protruded out sharply. The ugly fish blocked our boat as it stared down at us. You spotted a giant fish. Its information has been recorded in the player encyclopedia. Monster Encyclopedia.
Giant fish. Intermediate rank, grade 9. Boss? Don't worry. Boss stood up and reached out to the fish blocking our way. Gway! The fish opened its mouth with a strange roar. It was clearly trying to swallow us, but trying to fight Boss from a close range was foolish no matter how much her stats were restricted. Pervading shadow. Along with a soft whisper, black magic power shot out of Boss's fingers, entering the fish's mouth. Soon, the fish's body began to distort as though something was trying to dig its way out. Goy! A different scream rang out. The fish was in pain. However, the pain didn't last long as black thorns pierced out from inside its body. Boss sat down on the boat with a peaceful look. I pulled the giant fish's corpse near. I checked to see if it had any useful materials, but there was nothing. The second tutorial will end in 10 minutes. You good work surviving until now. A system alert notified the end of the 14-day tutorial. Boss spoke from next to me. The tutorial is ending soon. I heard. Boss looked at me and smiled. Good job. Thank you. But Boss is just dead weight here. Dead weight is too harsh. Didn't I kill all the sea monsters? That's because I kept us fed. You were starving every time you used your magic power. Boss narrowed her eyes. She seemed to be glaring at me, but it wasn't scary at all. I'm kidding. Good work. You too, newbie. We smiled while looking into each other's eyes. You cleared the second tutorial. Player Extra 7 obtained 2008 performance points. You are currently ranked first out of the 78 players who cleared the hardest difficulty tutorial. You are the only player who surpassed 2,000 points. You will be given the second tutorial's reward of honor. You will be transferred to your waiting room in 3 minutes.
Chapter 159. You will now be given 24 hours to rest. Prepare for the final tutorial. A warm light enveloped my body, and I closed my eyes. After a brief moment of floating, my feet touched a hard surface again. I opened my eyes and saw my waiting room. Seeing the empty white room, I smirked and sat down on the floor. First place reward. You obtained a tutorial reward box. You obtained 1,000 TP, Tower Point. All I did was keep adventuring, but since the first wave of challengers had no information about how the tower worked, I easily took first place. The competition would get much harder from the third wave onward, since Kim Suho was destined to get first place in the second wave. TP is a currency usable in all floors of the tower. Yes, thank you. I thanked the system. The player shop was exactly what it sounded like. A shop usable only by players. It sold special items like the tower re-entrance ticket and the Earth return ticket. Of course, neither could be used during the tutorial. Player shop. As soon as I spoke, a shop window popped up. Level 1 player shop. Physical ability. Magic power development. Faith. Consumable. Special items. TP 1000. The level 1 here didn't refer to my level. Players didn't have levels, but everything else in the tower did. Equipment, techniques, skills, NPCs, the player shop, and even the system I was talking to so politely. I clicked on the physical ability category. Muscle growth catalyst, vitality boost pill. The shop sold items that increased 0.05 to 0.10 stat points for 1,000 TP. It was the same for the magic power development and faith categories. With my 1,000 TP, I could only buy a few consumable herbs. Blue herb, 30 TP. Luminescent herb, 50 TP. Magic power clover, 100 TP. There's nothing but herbs. I remembered putting vitality and magic power recovery potions even in level 1 player shops, but it seemed that was changed as well. In fact, all the items listed here weren't cost-effective. Since TP was a shared currency within the Tower of Wish,
It was likely better to buy items from NPCs through their shops or from other players through the auction house. Of course, crafting items personally was the cheapest option. Earth return ticket, 1000 TP. This got more expensive too. Even the return ticket was 1000 TP, and that didn't even include the 1000 TP needed for the re-entrance ticket. In total, going back and forth between the tower and Earth was 4 times more expensive than in the original story. Looks like I won't make it back in a month. TP was especially important in the earlier floors of the tower. I promised Evandale I'd come back in a month, but it looks like I'd need at least 2 months. Next, I checked the reward box. Tutorial Performance Reward Box. You will obtain 3 random upgrade scrolls. This box will disappear unless opened within 12 hours. My luck probably didn't apply to this box, as it contained similar level scrolls. I opened the box without hesitation. 3 scrolls immediately popped out. Skill Upgrade Scroll. Item Upgrade Scroll. Upgrade Scroll. All scrolls must be used within 12 hours. All 3 were rare, hard to find even after the end of the tutorial. They're different, huh? They were different from the scrolls Kim Suho would obtain. The only common scroll was the Skill Upgrade Scroll. This scroll obviously had to be used on random dice. I wanted to save it if possible, but it would disappear in 12 hours if I didn't use it. First, I ripped the Skill Upgrade Scroll in half. Would you like to upgrade your bonus skill, Random Dice? Yes. Choose the direction of the upgrade. Level 1 Efficiency. Decreases random dice's recharge time. Level 1 Limit. Increase. The rank of the items you can obtain from the random dice increases. Level 1 Intelligence. Random dice will recognize your intentions better. 3 upgrade directions popped up in front of me. I clicked on Limit Increase without thinking too long. Thunk. The sound of a metallic bar closing rang out. Random dice can now transform into level 4 items. In exchange, its recharge time increases by 30 minutes. The upgrade was over. Next was the Item Upgrade Scroll. What item do I have anyway? I opened my inventory. Random dice, level 1 Fleshfish Skin, level 2 Blackhorn Octopus's Heart, level 1 Red Crystal Spear, level 1 Red Crystal Axe, level 1 Red Crystal Fishing Rod, level 2 Yggdrasil Leaf, Glossy Seafish's Tough Skin. My inventory was full with only 8 items. It couldn't be helped since my inventory was only level 0. I pondered. None of the items from the tutorial were worth keeping forever. Upgrading the Red Crystal Spear seemed too... Wait. Yggdrasil Leaf. Was it upgradable? I tried rubbing the scroll on the leaf. Would you like to use the Item Upgrade Scroll on level 2 Yggdrasil Leaf? It works? I confirmed it immediately. Level 2 Yggdrasil Leaf becomes level 3. The effectiveness of Yggdrasil's blessing increases. Yggdrasil Leaf's physical ability increase improves. Your strength, vitality, stamina, and speed stats increase by an additional 0.1 point. All right, that does it for items. Now it's time for the upgrade scroll. This scroll didn't have a prefix, as if to say it could be used on anything. I immediately decided how to use the scroll. I'd like to upgrade the system. With that, I ripped the scroll in half. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. The system, which always responded immediately, popped up 3 seconds later. Are you sure you want to upgrade level 0 extra 7 system? The system seemed to be taken aback. Perhaps it was even happy. Of course, I smiled and nodded. Level 0 extra 7 system becomes level 1 extra 7 system. Your personal waiting room becomes bigger. Your inventory becomes level 1. The community, a string of system alerts let me know that my decision was correct. By upgrading the system, my inventory space increased, and with a rumbling noise, my waiting room also got bigger. Great! I looked around the waiting room. I would be coming here often from now on. I planned to bring my friends here as well. Of course, the tower had an incredibly large floor called the residential area, almost the size of Korea, but on other floors, this personal waiting room was the only place I could rest in peace. Now let's make some furniture. This was part of my training, as making things should help increase my stats and dexterity's proficiency. First, I need some material. I took out a random dice from my inventory and threw it on the ground. Well-cut oak tree. Not having a level meant that it was level 0. In other words, it was a bust, only good for drawers or floor tiles. So I rolled another one. Level 3 high-quality blackwood. Sweet! A large log popped out. With this, I should be able to make a bed. I created a tool with Stigma's magic power and started working. 12 hours quickly passed by. Trait dexterity improves to grade 8. Crafting technique improves to level 2. Adds finishing touches to handmade equipment. Automatic crafting becomes more elaborate.
You obtain blueprint seeing eyes. Your strength increases by 0.1 point. Your stamina increases by 0.1 point. Your vitality increases by 0.1 point. After falling to grade 9, dexterity was restored to grade 8, and my physical stats increased by 0.1 points. LV3 comfy bed. LV3 recovery. Completely restores vitality in 6 hours. LV3 comfiness. Clears your mind. I built an amazing single-sized bed. Now I had 12 hours remaining. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to rest. The reason I was working so hard was to bully that bastard, or I guess that bitch, Jin Sa-hyuk, as much as possible. I had to get stronger faster than her. Oh, I'm sore all over. My shoulders felt like they were going to pop off, but I still had many things to do. Next, I had to make equipment. I was thinking of a mask and a hoodie to hide my face, and I also wanted simple armor. I rolled another random dice to get more material. In 9 hours, I crafted 3 more pieces of equipment. LV3 black hooded robe, LV2 temperature control, LV3 auto fit, LV1 sound muffling, LV2 black eagle mask, LV2 air purifier, LV2 face protection, LV3 leather armor, LV3 defense, LV3 durability, LV3 ease of movement. Oh, I'm so tired. Thankfully, Stigma's magic power worked well, and they all ended up with the effects I wanted. There was little chance that anyone else in the tutorial had better equipment than me. You obtain the technique LV1 Magic Power Infusion. The effect of magic power infused into items improves. The final tutorial will begin in 1 hour. Looking at the system alert, I pondered. The final tutorial wasn't that hard. The first tutorial's concept was battle, the second was survival, and the final tutorial's concept was society. Before the final tutorial began, I entered the community. Public forum. Read this if you are extra 7. Huh? While scrolling through the public forum, I found a post looking for me. I could tell who created the post before even reading it. Read this if you are extra 7. Nyan Jang Man. Are you still alive? If so, answer me. He must have thought I died because I suddenly stopped responding last time. I laughed and typed my reply. What, you finished your tutorial? He must have received an alert as he quickly responded. As expected, you're still alive, Hyungnim. I'm waiting for the final tutorial. What difficulty are you in? You first, Hyungnim. I'm in the highest. Wow, Hyungnim must really be someone amazing, so scary. Soon the final tutorial will begin. I don't have time to talk. I didn't have enough time. It wasn't possible to enter the community during the tutorial. Hey, I'm starting the final tutorial. Don't die and follow me properly. Yes, Hyungnim. The long string of S's made it sound like he was looking down on me, but I didn't bother to reply. Final tutorial. Maintaining profit. You will be moved to Tutorial Town. Light burst out like a thick fog. Feeling the warmth of the light, I closed my eyes. You are in the highest difficulty levels Tutorial Town. For 10 days, obtain as much TP as you can in the Tutorial Society. At the end of 10 days, you must possess more than 1,000 TP to clear the final tutorial. All TP earned by players will be theirs to keep. LV ? Mercenaries Pub. When I opened my eyes, I saw a flurry of system alerts along with the status window of the building in front of me. It's practically a city. I looked around. Behind me were houses built with yellow bricks and medieval-style shops. In front of me was a pub made entirely out of wood. The whole scene looked like it came out of a fantasy novel. For the first time in my life, I entered a pub. Keek! After opening the stiff wooden door, I walked on the creaking wooden floor. Ha 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 ha! Ho 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 ho! Ho 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 ho! As soon as I entered, rowdy laughter rang out. I took a good look around the place. Many muscular NPCs were talking and having fun. For the record, it was hard to distinguish between NPCs and players in the tower. As such, it was better to pretend to be an NPC as much as possible. I lifted the hood on my robe and sat down at the counter. "What can I get you?" the owner asked. I glanced at the menu in front of me and ordered fluently. "1 gin. That'll be 50 TP. You can take out 50 TP from your inventory. It shouldn't be that expensive. 20 TP. The owner lowered the price by over 50%. However, 20 TP was still too expensive. I pretended to reach into my pocket and took out 5 1 TP coins. The owner poured gin into a glass without saying anything. LV1 gin. LV1 alcohol. It seems the drink wasn't drugged. I chugged the glass. It was then. Keek! The wooden door I just used opened again. I turned around instinctively. Immediately, my eyes widened in shock. Standing at the door was a man and a woman. The woman was Caucasian and short. Her white hair was noticeable even from a distance, and her puppy-like eyes shone like jewels. Anyone looking at her would wonder how such a small face could contain such beauty. Next to her was a well-built Asian man. His appearance was just as praiseworthy as the woman's. Where is this? How mysterious! They were heroes from the Honored Temple of Justice, the strongest members the Hero Association had to offer. Eileen, the Spirit Speech Master, and Hellfire E. Yong-ha.
Chapter 160. According to the system, 78 people had passed the second tutorial on the highest difficulty. The tutorial town was about the size of Yoido, and all 78 top-level challengers were now gathered here. Among them, the 2 heroes closest to master rank were present. Hiding my nervousness, I observed them. Where is this place? How mysterious! They entered the pub, and I pulled my hood over my head. This is the mercenary pub, it says. Look, there are missions on the bulletin board. Ah, so we have to make money by completing missions. Eileen nodded at Yi Young-ha's words. At a glance, they looked like an uncle and niece. Looks like it. 1,000 each in 10 days. That should be easy. The third tutorial's goal was simple. Earn TP. Players with more than 1,000 TP at the end would move on to the real tower, but those who didn't would have to stay until the next tutorial started on November 1st. Destroy a goblin settlement, wipe out a group of bandits, dismantle an illegal gambling house. Yi Young-ha read the missions on the board. We can probably finish them all today. Eileen spoke impatiently. Please, you'll be dead tired after just one mission. What? Are you underestimating me? I'm being realistic. Your magic power is restricted right now. Since Eileen was Yi Young-ha's superior and they arrived together, she must have entered the tower with a red ticket, with Yi Young-ha as her companion. Geek! The door creaked open again. Eileen and Yi Young-ha turned to look, and so did I. Where is this place? How mysterious! They entered the pub, and I pulled my hood over my head. This is the mercenary pub, it says. Look, there are missions on the bulletin board. Ah, so we have to make money by completing missions.
Eileen nodded at Yi Young-he's words. At a glance, they looked like an uncle and niece. Looks like it. 1,000 each in 10 days. That should be easy. The third tutorial's goal was simple: earn TP. Players with more than 1,000 TP at the end would move on to the real tower, but those who didn't would have to stay until the next tutorial started on November 1st. Destroy a goblin settlement? Wipe out a group of bandits? Dismantle an illegal gambling house? Yi Young-ha read the missions on the board. We can probably finish them all today. Eileen spoke impatiently. Please, you'll be dead tired after just one mission. What? Are you underestimating me? I'm being realistic. Your magic power is restricted right now. Since Eileen was Yi Young-ha's superior and they arrived together, she must have entered the tower with a red ticket, with Yi Young-ha as her companion. Geek! The door creaked open again. Eileen and Yi Young-ha turned to look, and so did I. Where is this place? How mysterious! Can you be quiet? I recognized them by their voices alone. A giant and a seductive Western woman. Chok Chung-young and Jine. How the hell are we supposed to make... Oh! They spotted Eileen and Yi Young-ha standing at the bulletin board. The two pairs met each other's gazes. 2 versus 2. 4 sets of eyes glared, the air thick with hostility. Owner, give me 2 of your strongest alcohol. I ordered 2 drinks, paying 20 TP. The owner took the silver coins and handed me 2 strong liquors. I pulled my mask up and raised the glasses. You two know me, right? Eileen broke the tension first, glaring at Chok Chung-young and Jine. Ha ha ha, that's right, kid. We've seen you before, Chok Chung-young replied. Kid? Maybe it's more appropriate to call you a brat. Ha ha ha, I dare you to say that again. Eileen's face turned red at Chok Chung-young's provocation, but now wasn't the time to fight. Both of you, come. Eileen's power, spirit speech, was nearly at the level of an authority. I quickly twisted my wrist. Vodka shot out of the glasses and arced into Eileen's mouth. Yi Young-ha tried to block it, but I had prepared 2 glasses for this. Here, Yi Young-ha blocked one stream, but the other went straight into Eileen's mouth. With hard alcohol suddenly in her throat, Eileen coughed, unable to spit it out. My neck is burning. Spirit speech was useless if you couldn't speak. Since Eileen was weak to alcohol, she started grabbing and drinking other NPCs' drinks. Pooh! This is also alcohol. Water! Water! Eileen C., calm down. Take a deep breath. You think I can calm down? Normally, Eileen would have recovered quickly using her magic power, but with her stats restricted, she was much more vulnerable. What's with that brat? Chok Chung-young? I walked up to Chok Chung-young and Jine and whispered, Huh? Chok Chung-young's eyes widened. I held my finger to my lips, signaling him to be quiet. Then I dragged them outside and ran for 5 minutes straight. Oi! Chok Chung-young shook off my hand when we reached an alley. Now that we were far from the pub, I let him go. What's wrong with you? Why did you drag me here? I looked at Jine, hoping she'd help, but she only shrugged. Their stats are restricted like ours, right? I want to beat up that brat Eileen, too. You'll be arrested if you fight in town. Haven't you seen the vigilante group? I looked around. Thankfully, no players were watching. By the way, where is Boss? Who knows? We just got here, too. Wait, there she is. Jine pointed to the middle of the street. I turned to look. She really is there. Boss was tilting her head in front of a street vendor selling candies and chocolates. Looks like Boss wants sweets. Just as Jine said, Boss licked her lips and searched her pockets. I guess so. She does like chocolate. Oi, newbie, what's up with your clothes? Oh yeah, where did you get that? Chok Chung-young and Jine seemed interested in my clothes. I made them. Oh, make one for me too. Me too. Sure, if you're paying. Then never mind. Jine backed down, but Chok Chung-young was different. How much? I have 301 right now. 300 TP? Yeah. I stared at Chok Chung-young and spoke carefully. For all you have. Ha ha ha, newbie. Do I look like a pushover?
Despite his looks, he wasn't that stupid. I coughed and changed the subject. Come, let's go to Boss first. Boss seemed to have figured out how to take out TP, pulling out a gold coin. Gold coins were worth 100 TP each, likely a reward from the second tutorial. Boss stared at the vendor with the gold coin. The vendor's face was full of greed. She's going to get scammed at this rate. Tutorial Town sounded helpful, but nearly 70% of its residents were scammers. I went to Boss with Jokjong-young and Jine. Oi, Boss! Jokjong-young called, and Boss turned just as she was about to hand over her gold coin. Oh, it's Young. Jine and Newbie are here too. Boss greeted us expressionlessly as Jokjong-young stomped over. I quickly took the gold coin from her hand. Newbie, why are you taking my money? Boss frowned. I'll give it back later. I faced the candy vendor. This chocolate, how much is it? Pardon? I could hear him thinking, but seeing Jokjong-young looming behind me. They're 10 TP each. He was still trying to scam me in front of Jokjong-young. Give me one? No, 2. Boss spoke up, desperate for chocolate after a month without it. No! Why? I have 20 TP. I know, but that's enough to buy 10 chocolates. Leaving Boss to Jokjong-young, I faced the vendor again. With 20 TP, I bought 20 chocolates and 20 candies. With that done, we headed to an inn. While Boss happily ate junk food, we arrived at a nearby inn. Let's see, 4 people. That will be 300 TP a night. Even the innkeeper was a scammer. But knowing the real price, I took out 6 silver coins. Let's make it 60 TP. Hey, that won't do at all. Go somewhere else. I've been to all the inns in town. It only got cheaper each time. This is the last place. I glanced at Jokjong-young. He caught my signal and glared at the innkeeper. 150. Let's do 150 TP a night. 60 TP. 60 TP for a 4-person room? That's impossible. 60 TP, but we won't ask for food, just the room. Let's not make it difficult. The innkeeper was silent for a long time. I waited.
After about 3 minutes of silence, system alerts let me know my haggling succeeded. You acquired the technique LV1 haggling. You can see the rough estimate of the minimum price desired by NPCs with low-level haggling. LV1 haggling links with your charming voice. Extra 7's voice will now contain minute persuasion. So charming voice can be used like this. I grinned at the innkeeper. Fine, 70 TP. He still wanted 10 TP more. I threw 60 TP on the counter and took the key. I brought Boss, Jane, and Jokjong-young upstairs to a large 4-person room. So, what are you going to do now? Jane sat on the bed and asked. I'm planning to go steal something. I'm sure you'll do your own thing. The problem is... Jane looked at Boss and Jokjong-young. These two with low social experience. I'll take Jokjong-young with me. You take care of Boss. What? You? You're taking me with you? They've gotten funnier, kid. Jokjong-young laughed, hitting my shoulder. My bones would have broken outside, but thanks to the balance patch, I was fine. Also, invest all your money in me. Jane's eyebrows twitched. For what? Gambling. What? Are you crazy? Tutorial Town had a gambling house. The problem was over half the gamblers were scammers, so winning wasn't just about luck. Ah, is that why you bought a pack of cards before coming here? Jokjong-young asked. Yes. On the way to the inn, I bought a pack of cards. To make money among scammers, you had to be the best scammer. Are you confident? Jane asked doubtfully. Of course. Would I ask Jane Cheese for money if I wasn't? Money was life to Jane. Stealing from her was like declaring war. Really? Of course. Before coming to the tower, I studied and practiced card cheating. Double dealing, hand mucking, base dealing, sleight of hand. Thanks to my gift, dexterity, I was practically a professional. 1 hour later, I arrived at a gambling house with Jokjong-young asking NPCs for directions. 3s full of 5s. Fucking hell, you cheated, didn't you? Oh, please. The gambling house was loud and smoky. I sat at an empty table. A scammer, bored and smoking, eyed us. "Oh, are you two new here?" "Yes." "Oh-ho, a bodybuilder and a skinny boy. What a strange combo. Are you friends?" I smiled without answering. Chuck Jung-young grinned. "It's true, this guy is skinny. Anyways, welcome. I'll treat you two well." I could tell he was a scammer at a glance. Since I was going to cheat too, I didn't care. "All right, why don't we begin?" He picked up a pack of cards. I just smiled. 2 hours. It only took 2 hours for me to win most of the money in the gambling house. I cheated against scammers and relied on luck with ordinary people. Of course, scammers made a scene, but Chuck Jung-young stopped them every time. How boring. All cowards. NPCs who were only good at scamming shrank before Chuck Jung-young's muscles. It was funny to watch. "Now let's run away." "Eh? Why? We can still make more." "No, look over there." I pointed at the fierce-looking man I'd just beaten. He glared at me, chewing a cigarette. "He's probably a scammer hired by the owner." "So what? The owner will come soon with hired hands. Let's exchange money and leave before then." There was no reason to fight NPCs. I brought Chuck Jung-young to the exchange. 10,200 chips, confirmed. Hold on a minute. The employee counted my chips. 300 TP from Chuck Jung-young, 200 TP each from Boss and Jane, and 1,000 TP I originally had brought my total to 1,700 TP. In 2 hours, I'd more than quintupled it. "Here you go, 10,200 TP. The employee handed me 10 1,000 TP note banks and 2 gold coins. "How much do I get?" Without answering Chuck Jung-young, I put everything in my inventory. The 2 gold coins and some banknotes turned to dust and entered my inventory. Right, some. 5 banknotes were still in my hand. "These are fake." I looked at Chuck Jung-young. "What? Really?" "Yeah, that's why they don't go in the inventory." Chuck Jung-young's face twisted with rage. His muscles bulged and quang! A thunderous sound rang out. "You son of a bitch! Heek! Do I look like a pushover? I dare you to try that again, you father!" He started cursing in ways I can't describe. With 10,200 TP, I returned to the inn. Boss was working out, and Jane was preparing to go steal something in disguise. "Oh, you're back? Where's my money? If you lost it all..." "Don't worry. First, take a seat." I gave Boss, Jane, and Chuck Jung-young their money back, plus an extra 1,000 TP. Whew, good. Just by keeping the 1,000 TP I gave you, you'll be able to go up to the next floor. Well, that was easy. Is this it for this floor? No, stay on guard. There are pickpockets all over town. They can even steal money from your inventory. Though it was easy for us, this was still the highest difficulty tutorial town. No one would expect most people here to be scammers. Even a great sage would be tricked at least once. Do we get a performance-based reward like we did last time? If we get the most money? Probably not. The system would have told us. The third tutorial reward was simple. The TP we earn here is our reward. Meanwhile, in a goblin settlement some distance from Tutorial Town. "What? You said it was 700 TP!" Someone's angry voice rang out. Birds flew away and squirrels fell from trees in surprise. "Oh, don't you need to be so loud?" Eileen glared at the mercenary leader who hired her. "You think I can be quiet? Huh? You said it was 700 TP before." "As I said, that's if we didn't suffer any damage. Look at these guys." "What?" Eileen looked around. The mercenaries were clearly in pain. She bit her lips. "It's in the contract. The amount paid might change depending on the other's condition." "But I don't think it's right to not even give us half." This time Young-ha spoke up. The leader was lowering the 700 TP reward to 300 TP. No, that's just how it is. At least give us half." "I can't. If we consider the cost of treatment, we can't spare even a single TP. Fine. I don't need your dirty money." Eileen shouted and snatched the 3 gold coins from the leader.
She wanted to use spirit speech, but she'd used up most of her magic power fighting. "You better pray we don't meet again. If we do, I'll kill you for real." I'm just following the contract. No need to be so mad." "What? You son of a bitch!" "Stop, Eileen Shi. We won't gain anything from fighting." But this bastard is..." Ieng Ha dragged Eileen away as she struggled. After leaving the mercenary group, they walked back to town. "Forget about today. Let's just buy some potions on the way back." Ieng Ha wiped his sweat. "But the player shop doesn't sell potions." Eileen's voice was especially meek. She was lively even on an uninhabited island, but a few people had managed to depress her. Ieng Ha smiled bitterly. "No, not the player shop. I've seen potion shops around." "Ah, there's one." Ieng Ha pointed at a nearby shop. "Eileen Shi is low on magic power, right? Let's buy some magic power potions." "Yeah, good idea." They ran to the potion shop. Then, 100 TP? Yes, magic power potions got expensive recently. Still, there's no way they can be that expensive. It's true, it should be the same everywhere, though not many shops are open this lake. Though the price was hard to believe, the shopkeeper looked too honest to be lying. Even Yi Young Ha had to believe her. He looked at Aileen, who seemed dejected. It was easy to see how unhappy she was. Yi Young Ha sighed. He suddenly missed his wife back home. But since Aileen had overused her magic power, she needed a potion to recover for tomorrow. "I guess it can't be helped. We'll take one." Yes, sorry about that." "No, it's not your fault." "Next time you come, I'll add some bonuses." Thank you." In the end, Yi Young Ha spent his money on a magic power potion. "Here you go, Aileen C." Thanks." Aileen took the potion and put it in her inventory. Pour magic power potion. Level 0 magic power recovery. Restores 10 magic power upon consumption. Level 1 food poisoning. Increases your chance of getting food poisoning upon consumption. The item description was odd, but since magic power potions were usually expensive, Aileen didn't think much of it. Then, let's find an inn. 10 minutes later, they found an inn. But the innkeeper glanced at them and delivered more bad news. "Let's see, 2 people, that'll be 150 TP per night." "Pardon?" As soon as they heard the price, they felt as though their souls left their bodies.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe, comment, and like the video. Have a suggestion? Let me know in the comments.